The tension surrounding Jake Paul's decision to face Anthony Joshua is reaching a boiling point, as voices across the boxing world grow louder, harsher, and more urgent in their warnings. What began as another bold claim from the outspoken YouTuber turned fighter has now evolved into a debate that cuts right to the core of what boxing stands for. The spectacle, the money, the bravado, the entertainment value all mean nothing when placed against the brutal reality of stepping into a ring with a man whose punches have ended careers, broken jaws, and sent elite heavyweights crashing to the canvas in violent, unforgettable fashion. For many seasoned observers, this matchup represents the most dangerous leap Paul has ever taken, one that could turn his rising combat sports empire into a cautionary tale. Anthony Joshua, even in the eyes of critics who believe he is past his prime, remains a physically imposing force with knockout power that demands respect. His size, reach, and experience create a gap that is almost impossible to ignore. When Eddie Hearn, the man responsible for guiding Joshua through global championship bouts, openly talks about the physical risks involved, it becomes clear that this fight is not simply another crossover stunt. Hearn has hinted that a single punch from Joshua could cause damage far beyond a highlight reel knockout. He has spoken about the duty of promoters to protect fighters and made it clear that, regardless of the payday involved, this matchup crosses a line that makes many uncomfortable. Those sentiments are echoed by former fighters who have felt firsthand the consequences of absorbing punches from heavyweights. Moses Adama, rising through the division with a kind of power that sends shockwaves through gyms, has warned Paul to prioritize his health rather than his bank account. He describes the fight not as a challenge but as a scenario where one miscalculated exchange could result in serious long-term injury. Amir Khan has gone even further, stating bluntly that brain damage is a real possibility. For him, the size and power difference alone make this fight reckless, especially when Paul has not proven his durability against legitimate heavyweight punchers. The concern goes beyond individual opinions. Promoters, commentators, and sanctioning bodies are questioning whether this fight should even be allowed. One of the most striking criticisms comes from those who argue that sanctioning such a mismatch brings the sport into disrepute. Boxing has always balanced entertainment with the responsibility to protect its athletes, and many believe this fight tips the scales in the wrong direction. Joshua is still considered a dangerous and active heavyweight contender. Paul, despite his improvements, has not yet demonstrated the skill or experience required to safely compete at that level. The potential outcome is not just a loss for Paul but a situation that could end his career before it fully develops. Yet amid the warnings, Joshua himself has provided a glimpse into his mindset. He acknowledges the financial appeal but insists he is still a fighter first. He sees the value in a massive global event and does not shy away from the idea that this could serve as a record-breaking payday. At the same time, he has issued chilling statements about his intentions. He is not approaching this as an exhibition or a light challenge. His comments suggest a desire to make an example out of Paul, to show that influencers cannot treat boxing as a game. For Joshua, this fight may become a statement to protect the integrity of the sport. Analysts like Johnny Nelson believe Joshua is in a no-win situation. If he wins quickly, critics will dismiss it as expected. If Paul survives more than a few rounds, they will claim Joshua is finished as an elite competitor. If the unthinkable happens and Paul hurts him, Joshua's legacy could suffer irreparable damage. The financial incentive is undeniable, but the reputational risk is immense. Nelson credits Paul for his business savvy and promotional talent, acknowledging that he has earned his position through effort and marketing genius. However, he reinforces the belief that Paul is not prepared for world-class opponents in the ring. Meanwhile, Paul insists that this fight is his moment to silence every critic once and for all. He sees vulnerabilities in Joshua's recent performances and believes that the knockout loss to Daniel Dubois proves Joshua's chin can be cracked. He points to Joshua's long layoff as another advantage, arguing that timing and confidence may be compromised. His supporters frame this as a calculated opportunity rather than a reckless gamble. For Paul, this is the shortcut to legitimacy, the chance to bypass years of climbing through rankings and instead leap directly into the history books. Teddy Atlas provides one of the most balanced perspectives. He recognizes the danger but also acknowledges the mystery surrounding Joshua's current mental state. Fighters coming off knockout losses often carry psychological baggage that affects their performance. Atlas suggests that this fight could either expose Joshua's lingering vulnerabilities or serve as a cleansing reset that restores his confidence. That unpredictability adds intrigue and leaves open the possibility that the outcome may not be as straightforward as many believe. Still, the overwhelming sentiment remains that Paul is playing with fire. Even those who admire his ambition question whether his confidence has crossed into delusion. His flaws in technique, defense, and ring IQ have been exposed before, and facing someone of Joshua's caliber amplifies those weaknesses. The idea that one punch could end the fight within seconds is not hyperbole but a realistic prediction from experienced professionals. The stakes for Paul extend beyond physical harm. His entire boxing brand relies on his ability to remain competitive and marketable. A devastating loss could undermine his drawing power and reduce public interest in future fights. Casual fans may lose interest if they perceive him as someone pretending to be a boxer rather than a serious competitor. Promoters have warned that this fight could be the moment where the novelty of Jake Paul in boxing collapses. On the other side, Joshua risks being viewed as a cashing-out fighter who prioritizes money over legacy. If he embraces this route, many fear it signals the end of his ambitions at the elite level. Some believe that Joshua has accepted that his days as a world champion contender are over and is now focusing on securing financial security while he still can. This fight represents a crossroads for both men. One sees it as a defining moment of validation, the other as an enormous payday with dangerous implications. The boxing world watches with equal parts fascination and dread, wondering whether this will become one of the sport's most shocking upsets or one of its most brutal disasters. Now the question turns to you. Is Jake Paul showing true courage by stepping into the ring with a heavyweight powerhouse like Anthony Joshua? Or is he risking everything for a payday and a headline? Do you believe he has any real chance of winning? Or will this become the moment that exposes the limits of his ambition? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the story behind the spectacle, make sure to like the video and subscribe.